After Hulk realized that he had been living in a simulation, he broke out of the machine that put him there, wondering how long he had been living like that. Immediately after, he was approached by a lady with a little boy, telling Bruce to calm down because she knew he had a lot of questions. But Bruce completely ignored her and then tried taking her son because he thought it was his son Rick, the son that he somehow had with Betty Ross. Anyways, after that, he was approached by a bunch of AIM soldiers, demanding him to freeze unless he wanted them to open fire. And Bruce didn't think their weapons were strong enough to hurt him, so he didn't take their orders seriously. But that was obviously a huge mistake because their weapons actually packed a massive punch and were strong enough to send him crashing into a door. Bruce then slammed the ground beneath him as hard as he could, only to end up even deeper in the facility, where he discovered that he wasn't the only one living in a simulation because Vapor and Abomination were there, hooked up to the same machines that he was hooked up to. Moments later, the AIM soldiers tracked him down, so he tried blitzing them, but it was completely useless because they had some sort of force field that was protecting them. He was then blasted by yet another huge beam of energy, but it didn't come from the soldiers. It actually came from none other than MODOK. Hulk's immediate reaction was to ask him what happened to everyone. Where was Betty and his friend Rick? And according to MODOK, they were long dead. Bruce then attacked him because he assumed that he was the one responsible for killing them, but what was weird was that MODOK didn't try fighting him back, and he even welcomed Bruce to kill him, expressing that he would be doing him a favor. And if life was so bad that the villains didn't even care whether they lived or not, then something was up, and Bruce had to figure it out, so he took a step back and asked how they died. MODOK then revealed that World War III was the cause of their death, them and everyone else. A terrorist group set off nuclear weapons in both the United States and Russia, and convinced both countries that the other country was responsible. After everything was all said and done, 60% of humanity was completely wiped out, and then years later, another terrorist group calling themselves the Black Scythe unleashed poisonous gas all throughout the world, which lowered its population even more. So MODOK and AIM took Bruce and the others underground to preserve them in simulations because their bodies benefited from radiation, which could possibly help aid their survival. But honestly, at first, Bruce didn't believe that what MODOK was telling him was true. So he went to go check it out for himself, only to discover that MODOK wasn't lying at all. The world was a complete wasteland and there wasn't any humans around. But he wanted to see how bad it truly was, so he journeyed all across the earth. There wasn't really anything in the cities except destroyed buildings, and there wasn't really anything in the forests except dead animals. But during his travels, he discovered that some people were actually still alive. And in this underground facility, he was told by Machine Man that New York was actually a fully functioning city called Dystopia now. And it even had a ruler who went by Maestro that everyone described as a god. And Hulk was like, you know what, I gotta go there and I gotta meet this Maestro dude. So he went there, and upon his arrival, this minister dude escorted him directly to the throne room because apparently Maestro wanted to see him. And that's when Bruce discovered that the Maestro was actually freaking Hercules. But sadly, that's when this issue comes to an end. But if you want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below.